Atz Lee is miles away hiking, and I get the phone call in the middle of the night that no wife should ever get. The paramedics came in a chopper, and the helicopter took Atz Lee out of there. It's hard to know somebody's hurt, and they might die or something. This is terrible.
Frontier myths and online rumors have long swirled around the Kilcher family, the hardy Alaskans at the heart of the Discovery Channel's Alaska, the last frontier. But that's not all. The show has also run into controversies and legal challenges over the years. Today, we'll address it all, and also the rumors about the Alaska The Last Frontier cast members who are dead or in jail. Let's get started. The amazing life and tragic death of Yule F. Kilcher. The Kilcher family's story begins long before television cameras arrived in Homer, Alaska. Yule F. Kilcher, born on March 9, 1913, in Laufen, Switzerland, immigrated to the United States in the late 1930s as political unrest in Europe escalated. Drawn by the promise of the U.S. Homestead Act, which allowed settlers to claim and improve undeveloped land, Yule traveled to Alaska in 1940. He eventually selected a remote stretch of coastline near Kachemak Bay, a few miles east of the small town of Homer. There, he cleared the forest, built cabins, and began the arduous process of creating a self-sustaining homestead. Yule married Ruth Weber, a fellow Swiss immigrant, in 1941, and together they raised 8 children: Mossy, Ortilla, Faye, Katkin, Stella Vera, Sunrise, Atz, and Otto, without modern conveniences such as road access, electricity, or indoor plumbing. Yule became a prominent advocate for Alaskan statehood and served as a delegate at the 1955-56 Alaska Constitutional Convention. The show would have never been possible without him. On December 8, 1998, Yule Kilcher died in Homer at the age of 85, decades before the world would be introduced to his family through the Discovery Channel. His death marked the end of an era. By the time Alaska, The Last Frontier premiered on December 29, 2011, the Kilcher children and grandchildren had carried his ideals into the 21st century. The show chronicles how Yule's descendants, primarily brothers Atz and Otto, and their extended families, continue to live largely off the land. They raise cattle, cultivate extensive gardens, fish the cold waters of Kachemak Bay, and hunt moose, bear, and caribou to fill their winter stores. The homestead spans more than 600 acres of rolling tundra and forest, and because there is still no public road leading directly to their cabins, travel is typically by ATV, horseback, or foot. Winters are long and severe, with temperatures often plunging well below 0 degrees Fahrenheit and annual snowfall exceeding 150 inches, demanding careful preparation and resourcefulness. The series now has more than 10 seasons. What does it offer, you may ask? Well, there's the Alaskan scenery and the Kilcher's multi-generational story of resilience. Atz Kilcher, a seasoned musician and storyteller, and his brother Otto, a skilled mechanic and rancher, anchor the show alongside their spouses, children, and grandchildren. Their famous niece, Grammy-winning singer-songwriter Yule, occasionally appears, through episodes documenting everything from repairing aging farm equipment to fending off wildlife that threatens livestock. The program captures the daily challenges of living without reliance on municipal utilities or large-scale commercial services. With the popularity of any long-running reality show come rumors, and Alaska, The Last Frontier is no exception. Despite these rumors and the hazards inherent to their lifestyle, the Kilchers have maintained a steady presence on the homestead and on television. Yule's original vision of sustainable living remains central to the program. Episodes often highlight the family's communal efforts to prepare for winter, whether by smoking salmon, repairing fencing to protect cattle from predators, or cutting cords of firewood to fuel wood stoves through months of sub-zero weather. Let's walk through the controversies and rumors one by one. 2015 Black Bear Hunting Violation. In 2015, Atz Lee Kilcher and his wife Jane, two of the show's main cast members, and the Los Angeles-based production company Wilma TV Incorporated, which films the series on the family's 600-acre homestead near Homer, Alaska, became embroiled in a serious legal controversy. According to records from the Alaska Department of Public Safety and filings in Homer District Court, state wildlife troopers alleged that during the filming of a spring black bear hunt on May 31, 2014, a helicopter was used to transport individuals to a remote hunting site across Kachemak Bay. Alaska hunting regulations strictly prohibit the use of aircraft to aid in the taking of big game animals such as black bears. The law has been designed to prevent unfair advantage over wildlife and to maintain the principle of fair chase. The investigation began after troopers received a tip and reviewed footage connected to the show. The Alaska wildlife troopers forwarded their findings to prosecutors, and on February 25, 2015, the state of Alaska charged Atz Lee Kilcher and Jane Kilcher, each with one misdemeanor count of unlawful methods of taking or aiding in the taking of black bear. The same charge was also brought against Wilma TV Incorporated, the California production company responsible for filming and editing Alaska: The Last Frontier. The statute carries potential penalties of up to 1 year in jail and fines that can reach $10,000 for individuals and higher amounts for corporate entities. The allegations drew attention partly because of the show's popularity. Alaska: The Last Frontier, which debuted on December 29, 2011, regularly ranked among the Discovery Channel's most-watched programs, attracting more than 3 million viewers per episode during its early seasons. A charge of using a helicopter for a hunt seemed to cut against the very image of frontier fairness and traditional subsistence that the series promoted. Court documents from the Homer District Court show that Atz Lee and Jane, through their attorney, pleaded not guilty at an initial hearing in March 2015. They maintained that they did not personally hire or operate the helicopter and that the aircraft was used for production logistics rather than to gain a hunting advantage. The couple emphasized that they were following the direction of the film crew and believed they were in compliance with Alaska hunting regulations. Prosecutors, however, argued that even indirect use of aircraft to facilitate a hunt could violate the law if it provided hunters with an undue advantage. As the case proceeded, the focus shifted toward the production company itself. Wilma TV Incorporated, headquartered in Los Angeles and responsible for organizing the shoot, faced the same misdemeanor count. Alaska prosecutors presented evidence that the helicopter was chartered specifically to transport personnel and equipment to a location across the bay, a site chosen for its remote setting and dramatic scenery. On July 6, 2015, after months of legal maneuvering, the state of Alaska dismissed all charges against Atz Lee and Jane Kilcher. Court records indicate that prosecutors concluded there was insufficient evidence to prove that the couple knowingly violated the law or that they personally arranged the helicopter's use for hunting advantage. Both Atz Lee and Jane publicly expressed relief, noting their respect for Alaska's wildlife laws and reiterating their commitment to responsible subsistence hunting. Wilma TV Incorporated, however, chose a different path. On July 8, 2015, the company entered a plea agreement with the state, pleading guilty to a reduced misdemeanor charge of attempted unlawful methods of taking black bear. As part of the agreement, the production company paid a $17,500 fine one of the larger wildlife-related penalties imposed in the Homer area that year. The resolution of the case allowed filming of Alaska, the last frontier to continue without interruption. Discovery Channel released no formal statement beyond confirming that the company had paid the fine, and that the series would proceed with full compliance with Alaska hunting and filming regulations. Alaska, which spans over 663,000 square miles and supports an estimated 100,000 black bears according to the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, has some of the most comprehensive hunting regulations in the United States. Moving on, there's more from where that came. Atz Lee Kilcher's fall. On August 11, 2015, Atz Lee Kilcher suffered a life-threatening fall while hiking near Otter Cove Resort, a rustic lodge and wilderness property about 12 miles across Kachemak Bay from Homer, Alaska. According to reports filed later in court documents, the 38-year-old reality television personality was exploring the rugged cliffs that ring the cove when he slipped and plummeted roughly 40 feet onto a rocky shoreline. Emergency responders airlifted him to an Anchorage hospital, where physicians documented multiple traumatic injuries: a broken arm, a broken shoulder, a broken ankle, several fractured ribs, and 2 punctured and partially collapsed lungs. He spent several days in intensive care, followed by months of physical therapy. Discovery Channel, which had been filming the 5th season of Alaska, the last frontier at the time, temporarily halted his on-camera appearances. The Kilcher family's homestead sits on the opposite side of Kachemak Bay, near Homer, but Otter Cove Resort occupies an especially dramatic section of coastline where steep volcanic bluffs drop abruptly into the ocean. The property has long been known among locals for its stunning views and challenging terrain. Court filings from the Alaska Superior Court in Homer indicate that Atz Lee was visiting the resort as a guest, rather than filming an episode when the accident occurred. The location's natural beauty also carries obvious hazards. Narrow trails hug cliff edges, rock slides, slick vegetation, particularly in late summer, when rainfall can be heavy. Weather data from the National Weather Service shows that August 2015 brought more than 5 inches of rain to the Homer area, creating muddy, unstable conditions along coastal paths. On October 21, 2017, after recovering enough to resume limited television work, Atz Lee filed a civil lawsuit against Otter Cove Resort in Alaska's 3rd Judicial District Superior Court. The complaint alleged negligence and sought damages of not less than $100,000, a figure that met the statutory threshold for serious personal injury claims in Alaska. Kilcher argued that the resort failed to provide adequate warnings of the cliff's danger and did not install protective barriers, signage, or other safety measures, despite knowing the area was frequented by guests. The filing cited medical expenses, lost wages from his role on the Discovery Channel series, and ongoing pain and disability. Atz Lee maintained that the injuries required extensive surgery and rehabilitation, affecting his ability to hunt, build, and perform music. Otter Cove Resort, owned at the time by John and Linda Cox, according to property records in the Kenai Peninsula Borough, responded in January 2018 with a formal answer denying all allegations of negligence. Their defense invoked Alaska's assumption of risk doctrine, arguing that Atz Lee was an experienced outdoorsman well aware of the dangers inherent to coastal cliffs. The resort's legal team pointed out that the area is an undeveloped natural landscape rather than a manicured tourist attraction, and that visitors are responsible for their own safety when venturing off marked paths. They further claimed that warning signs and basic advisories were already present, and that the cliff where Kilcher fell was an obvious hazard. The case proceeded through discovery during 2018, with depositions taken from Atz Lee, eyewitnesses, and medical professionals who treated his injuries. Court filings reference the severity of his trauma, including titanium plates inserted to stabilize fractures and months of respiratory therapy to address the collapsed lungs. Medical cost estimates attached to the filings placed his hospital and rehabilitation expenses well above $100,000, not including projected future treatments or lost income from missed filming seasons. Alaska, The Last Frontier, averaged more than 3 million viewers per episode at the time. Kilcher's absence was notable during several episodes aired in late 2015 and early 2016. While the Homer Courthouse does not list a jury verdict, docket records show that by late 2018, the parties entered settlement negotiations. The exact terms were not made public. This is fairly typical for civil settlements in Alaska. The matter was resolved out of court before reaching a full trial. Neither Atz Lee nor representatives of Otter Cove Resort have disclosed whether any financial compensation was paid or whether liability was formally acknowledged. Alaska's Department of Health and Social Services tracks hundreds of serious fall injuries each year related to outdoor recreation, with coastal cliffs and glacial terrain posing particular dangers. State law generally expects residents and visitors to exercise reasonable care when navigating such areas, and landowners are often shielded from liability for obvious natural hazards unless willful negligence can be shown. But wait, that's not all. Allegations of staged or fake scenes and environment, salting, criticism over the authenticity of Alaska, The Last Frontier has persisted for years. Because it bills itself as a non-fiction look at off-grid subsistence living, any hint that the production team might salt the environment, which is an industry term for manipulating conditions to produce specific footage, has fueled debate about what is real and what is recreated for television. One focal point of these allegations involves wildlife encounters, particularly hunts, and the preparation of game. Alaskan hunting regulations, enforced by the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, require strict documentation for the harvesting of species such as moose, caribou, and game birds like grouse or pheasant. Viewers who are themselves hunters have repeatedly pointed out on online forums and social media that some Last Frontier hunting sequences appear suspiciously well-timed or unusually dramatic for purely candid footage. Critics argue that a camera crew's presence in dense backcountry would normally scatter animals or require hours of patient tracking, yet the program frequently captures close-up wildlife interactions within a single day of filming. For instance, in a pheasant hunting episode that aired during the show's mid-2010 seasons, Atz Lee Kilcher and other family members were shown harvesting birds for a homestead meal. The original kill sequence, fans believe, was allegedly reshot or restaged after the fact to improve visual clarity. Several viewers claimed that the final broadcast featured a hero shot of a bird being cleaned and cooked that did not perfectly match the earlier footage, sparking speculation that the production either substituted another pheasant or recreated portions of the scene to enhance continuity. No official complaint was filed, and the network has never confirmed any reshooting, but the chatter became a recurring topic in fan forums through 2018. Former crew members who have spoken anonymously to regional media have also hinted at production pickups, a standard practice in reality television where small segments are refilmed to correct audio or lighting issues. While not inherently deceptive, such retakes can create the impression that events are unfolding spontaneously when in fact they are carefully edited composites. In the context of hunting or foraging, this can blur the line between legitimate subsistence activity and staged entertainment. For example, the Homer News reported in a 2017 feature on Alaskan reality programming that camera crews sometimes requested that the Kilchers pause and redo certain steps of a hunt or a meal so that multiple camera angles could be captured, especially when natural light or weather conditions changed rapidly on location. Accusations of environmental salting go beyond hunts. Longtime Homer residents have questioned how the production consistently secures such dramatic sequences of bears, eagles, or moose near the Kilcher homestead, where actual wildlife sightings can be sporadic. Alaska Department of Fish and Game data shows that brown bear densities on the Kenai Peninsula average 1 bear per 15 square miles, meaning that chance encounters close to the homestead would normally be rare. Critics suggest that the film crew may bait or selectively film areas known for higher animal activity to guarantee sightings. Discovery Channel and the Kilcher family have repeatedly denied using bait or any practice that would violate state wildlife laws, and no enforcement action has ever been recorded against the show by the Alaska Department of Fish and Game or the Alaska State Troopers Wildlife Investigation Unit. Then there's soft scripting. Media scholars such as Dr. Laurie Ouellette of the University of Minnesota have documented in academic journals that so-called reality shows frequently employ reenactments or ask participants to repeat natural actions for cinematic purposes. Industry contracts often include clauses permitting restaging of naturally occurring events, a phrase that gives producers leeway to recreate moments missed on camera. Discovery Channel, when questioned in a 2018 Anchorage Daily News article about similar controversies on other series like Deadliest Catch, emphasized that any recreations are meant only to fill gaps and not to mislead viewers. Atz Lee Kilcher and his wife Jane have occasionally addressed fan questions on social media, noting that while cameras sometimes require them to repeat something for a different angle, the activities, whether they be hunting, building, or preparing food, are genuine tasks they would perform regardless of filming. Jane Kilcher commented in a 2019 Instagram Q&A that nothing is scripted, but sometimes we need to slow down or show something twice so the crew can keep up. The Alaska Film Office requires permits for commercial shoots on state land and can revoke them for violations of environmental or wildlife regulations. No such penalties have been issued to Alaska. The Last Frontier, or its parent company, Discovery Communications, for staged hunting or illegal animal interactions. In any case, the persistence of these allegations reflects a tension inherent to wilderness reality television. Audience metrics from Nielsen ratings show that Alaska, The Last Frontier, has maintained a steady audience despite the skepticism, averaging between 1.5 and 2 million live viewers per episode. So, how is life behind the camera? Family relationship tensions, personal history, revelations. Yule Kilcher, the internationally recognized singer-songwriter known professionally as Yule, has been candid for decades about her complex upbringing on the Kilcher family homestead. Born on May 23, 1974, to Atz Kilcher and Lenedra Carroll, she spent her earliest years on the 600-acre property established by her Swiss immigrant grandparents, Yule and Ruth Kilcher, under the Homestead Act. The land lies about 11 miles outside Homer, a coastal town of roughly 5,000 residents located on Kachemak Bay at the southern end of the Kenai Peninsula. With no road access to much of the homestead during her childhood and winters that routinely drop well below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, the environment demanded a rugged lifestyle. Yule has described traveling by horse or foot to reach neighbors, chopping wood to heat the family cabin, and melting snow for water. In her 2015 memoir, Never Broken, Songs Are Only Half the Story, Yule recounts both the beauty of this off-grid upbringing and the darker family dynamics that shaped her. She writes that her parents' marriage dissolved when she was about 8 years old, after which her mother moved away, and her father, Atz became her primary caregiver. Yule has alleged that during this period, Atz struggled with alcoholism and emotional volatility, describing incidents of verbal and physical abuse. She portrays a household marked by unpredictable moods, where music was the only safe means of expression. Yule has repeatedly emphasized in interviews, including a 2015 conversation with People magazine and a 2016 appearance on NPR's Fresh Air, that sharing these memories was not meant as a public shaming, but as an honest account of how cycles of trauma can affect families. Atz Kilcher himself has publicly acknowledged parts of this history. In his own memoir, Son of a Midnight Land, Atz writes about enduring an austere and sometimes harsh upbringing under his father, Yule, who he says expected discipline and self-reliance from all 8 of his children. Atz admits to repeating some of those patterns when raising Yule and her brothers, Shane and Atz Lee. He details his long struggle with alcohol and the effort it took to achieve sobriety, crediting both therapy and the grounding influence of music and the homestead itself for helping him change. In interviews following his book's release, including with the Anchorage Daily News in February 2018, Atz said he and Yule have worked toward reconciliation and a deeper understanding of how generational trauma shaped their relationship. Viewers have seen Atz Lee reflect on parenting mistakes and speak warmly of renewed bonds with his children, though the program largely focuses on subsistence living. Yule's musical career, which began with street performances in San Diego in the early 1990s and catapulted to fame with her 1995 debut album Pieces of You, provided another forum for processing her past. That record, certified 12 times platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America, includes songs such as Who Will Save Your Soul and Foolish Games, which she has said were informed by feelings of loneliness and resilience developed during her Alaskan childhood. She often credits the self-reliance she learned on the homestead, such as riding horseback through blizzards, practicing music for hours in a cabin without electricity, as essential to surviving the uncertainty of early touring life and the pressure of sudden stardom. Public revelations about family tensions have occasionally stirred debate among fans, yet neither Yule nor Atz has suggested that these disclosures are meant to tarnish the family name. Instead, both have framed them as an effort to break cycles of silence and to encourage open dialogue about addiction, abuse, and healing. Yule has spoken at mental health conferences and in multiple interviews about the importance of mindfulness practices she developed as a teenager to cope with anxiety and fear, methods she continues to teach through her nonprofit, the Inspiring Children Foundation. And now, let's address the rumors. Death hoaxes and misinformation. False reports of death and fabricated criminal allegations have circulated around the Kilcher family almost since the Discovery Channel series first gained national attention in the early 2010s. One of the most persistent rumors involves Otto Kilcher, the homestead's mechanical expert, and a central figure on the show since its debut on October 4, 2011. Otto, born April 19, 1952, is known for his inventive repairs and for keeping the family's tractors and farm equipment running through brutal Alaskan winters. Despite his regular appearances on camera, misleading online reports have repeatedly claimed that he died. The first notable Otto Kilcher death hoax surfaced in late 2016, when a string of clickbait websites with names such as USA News Flash and Hollywood News Daily began circulating headlines like "Sad News, Otto Kilcher of Alaska, the last frontier found dead." These sites, many hosted on overseas servers and carrying no verifiable bylines, provided no sourcing beyond vague statements that he had died at home in Alaska. Social media shares on Facebook and Twitter amplified the rumor, causing some fans to post condolences on the show's official pages. Local outlets, including the Anchorage Daily News and the Homer News, quickly debunked the story, citing Discovery Channel representatives who confirmed that Otto was alive and actively filming. At the time, he was in the middle of production for Season 6, which premiered in October 2016 to an audience of roughly 2.2 million viewers. A second wave of misinformation appeared in December 2021, when Otto was briefly hospitalized for emergency surgery related to a bowel obstruction. During this period, a Facebook page posing as an entertainment news outlet misinterpreted a family update and declared that Otto had passed away from complications. The rumor gained traction on Reddit and in fan forums, prompting Otto's wife Charlotte to issue a direct statement on her verified Instagram account on December 30, 2021. She reported that Otto was recovering well and even included a photo of him in a hospital bed, smiling for the camera. The post was subsequently picked up by the Peninsula Clarion newspaper, which published a short item confirming that the 69-year-old reality star was alive and expected to return to the homestead after a brief recovery. Studies by the Pew Research Center have shown that false celebrity death reports consistently rank among the most clicked and shared online hoaxes. The Kilchers have become public figures by virtue of their show's popularity, making them vulnerable to the same tactics. Clickbait sites generate advertising revenue from traffic spikes, and unsourced death headlines often spread faster than corrections. In Otto's case, the family's remote location and limited social media presence during parts of the year may have made fact-checking more difficult for casual readers, allowing rumors to persist. Alongside the death hoaxes, unfounded claims have circulated that one or more Kilcher family members have faced jail time. Alaska court records and federal databases, as well as reporting by regional outlets such as the Homer News, the Anchorage Daily News, and the Alaska Court System's public database, reveal no verified evidence that any principal cast member of Alaska, the last frontier, has ever been incarcerated. The closest documented legal issue involved a 2015 wildlife case in which Atz Lee Kilcher and his wife Jane were charged with using a helicopter to spot black bears. Despite the lack of credible cases, jail rumors continue to surface on social platforms. For example, in mid-2019, several Facebook groups and YouTube channels claimed that Atz Lee had been arrested for assault, linking the supposed incident to his widely publicized August 2015 fall from a cliff at Otter Cove Resort near Homer. In reality, the only legal action connected to that event was a civil negligence lawsuit Atz Lee filed against the resort in 2017, seeking at least $100,000 in damages for injuries, including a broken arm, a shattered ankle, and punctured lungs. The Discovery Channel has occasionally addressed these rumors through its press office, emphasizing that no cast member has faced imprisonment and that reports of deaths are completely baseless. In 2018, when false reports of his death were once again circulating on social media, Otto Kilcher addressed the chatter head-on during a lighthearted interview with the Homer News, the local paper that covers the Kenai Peninsula community where the Kilcher homestead is located. Family members, including Yule Kilcher, have also used their own social media platforms to reassure fans when rumors flare up. The persistence of such misinformation reflects the challenges faced by public figures who live in remote areas and maintain limited online profiles. The Kilcher homestead sits roughly 11 miles from Homer and is partly roadless, with much of the property accessible only by all-terrain vehicle or horseback. During Alaskan winters, when snow can exceed 150 inches annually, internet access can be sporadic. This isolation, while central to the show's appeal, can delay rapid rebuttals to viral falsehoods. Yet each time, the combination of direct family statements, local journalism, and the continued appearance of Otto and his relatives in new episodes has provided clear, verifiable evidence that the rumors are untrue. Contrary to the rumors, Otto Kilcher remains very much alive, and no member of the Kilcher family has served jail time or faced criminal convictions related to the show. This misinformation highlights the need for careful verification in the digital age. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Did you like this video? If you did, please consider liking, dropping a comment, and hitting the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on our new uploads. Also, don't miss this video you see on your screen right now. It's truly unbelievable.